Hello, my name is Ernst Wilhelm, and I'm here to talk to you about secrets and facts of Vedic astrology. There's a part of astrology that's also practiced in the West and all branches of astrology that the average person has never even heard about, and that's what we call electional astrology. In India, we call it Muhurta. Now, what this branch of astrology is about, it's about finding the right moment to start something. So say you want to buy a house. You want to buy the house on the right moment. You want to move into the house on the right moment. Then let's say you have to fix something on the house, like the roof. You want to start repairing the roof at the right moment. Okay? When you meet someone, you want to meet them at the right moment. You want to marry them at the right moment. You want to have sex for the first time at the right moment. So everything we do, we want to do it at the right moment, ideally. And that's what this branch of astrology has to do. In fact, Muhurta means moment. And it's the practice of astrology to find the right moment to start something, or the best moment to start something. And this covers everything you can imagine. There's a right moment to name your child. There's a right moment to feed your child for the first time. There's a right moment to put your baby in the cradle. We know when you finally get him out of your bed and put him in the cradle. There's a right time to travel. There's a right time to advertise your business. There's a right time to start your business. There's a right time for paying debts. There's a right time for starting a writing project. There's a right time for starting your education. So everything we do is going to be influenced by the moment we start it, to some degree. Now, the largest thing that influences our life on Earth is our destiny. And our astrologically indicated destiny is going to influence 75% of what happens in our life. So when we get married, 75% of what's going to happen in your marriage is astrologically destined already. But really, 25%, that's a big chunk of let's call it free will. Okay? That's a little bit of squirming room, right? And if we use this 25% well, we can make the most of our lives. No, we can't make our life perfect. No, everyone is not going to win lotto by buying a lottery ticket at the right moment. But by doing things at the right moment, we can make the most of our lives. We can bring in good vibrations, let's say, good luck, good fortune, to the 75% of our astrally fated destiny, and give it a 25% boost and make our life, enrich our life in all areas. Also, everything we do impacts our future. So when I say I'm going to go to Rome and I find a moment to go to Rome, that moment is going to have an influence for me going to Rome, of course, but it also may have an influence throughout my entire life. Let's say I go at a bad moment and I sit down next to somebody in the plane, and it's a very bad moment that I got onto that trip, and that person has some kind of latent disease. And let's say somehow we mix up cups and I drink out of their cup and I pick up this virus, and 10 years later that virus surfaces and I got a bad disease. Okay? This little trip to Rome is impacting my whole life, and it impacts it badly because I did it at a bad time. Or let's say I go to that trip to Rome and I pick a really good time, and when I get to Rome, I meet a cab driver, and they're like, oh yeah, my brother does astrology. I give him my email. And then a year later, their brother might finally email me and say, yeah, I'm doing astrology, and I want to sell your astrology software and translate it into Italy. And all of a sudden I got this business opportunity that I never even planned for. That's helping my life. Okay? So everything we do impacts our life somehow. Everything we do now affects the rest of our life, is what I'm saying. By starting new things at a good moment, it favorably impacts the rest of our life and gives us greater health, friendship, and prosperity. Anything we start during a bad moment gives us worse health, less prosperity, and more trouble with people. Okay? So oftentimes you'll start something at a moment, and that moment will somehow lead to a greater destiny beyond anything you conceived of in that moment. So you see, every time we start something, it's important for that event we're starting, but also for everything in the rest of our lives. Because the next step is the next step of the rest of our life. It's just not the next step to Rome. If I go to Rome, that's the next step for the rest of my life. So if it's the first time I've been to Rome, I want that to be a good step and find a good moment to begin that step. So this is the science, basically, of finding a good time to start anything for the first time. If you've been to Rome before, you don't really have to be too concerned, because the first time you went to Rome, that's the critical time. You can still, you can still find a good moment, but it's always the first time you do something that's most important. For instance, the shuttle, the Challenger shuttle, the NASA shuttle program is real interesting. The first shuttle launch was done at a bad moment, and that affected every other shuttle launch thereafter, which contributed to 2 shuttles exploding, or crashing, whatever you want to call it, and to a lot of other problems in the whole shuttle program. If that first launch, even though the first launch didn't crash, if that first launch had been done at a good moment, it would have protected all the other launches. But what happened, the first launch was done bad, and then 2 other launches were done at very bad times, and they didn't land on Earth ever again. They crashed, okay? So, same if I go to Rome. The first time I go to Rome is the most important time. It's going to influence every trip to Rome the rest of my life. So if I do that right the first time. Now, one of the important areas of doing this is in the area of relationships. We have so many important dates. We've got the engagement, the meeting, first sexual intercourse, and marriage. All those are important. The most important one is the day you meet, which is usually left to chance, because that's the moment of your fate with that person. Then the second most important is the first time you have sexual intercourse. Okay, and a lot of people leave that completely to chance. And as a result, they may be putting a stigma into their relationship for the rest of their lives. Okay, so it pays to do things at a good moment. Now, doing things at a good moment won't change your destiny. Okay, if you're not meant to win lottery, you can buy the lotto ticket on the best moment possible, and you're not going to win lottery because it's just not your destiny. But let's say you have the destiny to win lottery, and along with that destiny, there's lots of discomfort. Well, by buying that lottery ticket at a good moment, you can mitigate some of that discomfort. Okay? Now, this branch of astrology is a difficult branch of astrology to learn because there's so many factors you have to analyze in a chart. I analyze about 124 factors to find a good moment. That's about 15 times more than your average astrologer is going to analyze. But there is 124 important things to analyze every minute to see if it's a good moment or not. So you can see it's a painful, difficult thing to find a good moment. But it's a really interesting part of astrology to learn. I have a course where you can learn it on videos at www.astrologyvideos.com. So that's astrology-videos.com. And I also have a report that generates a year of good dates for an event. So you can get a year of good times to get your teeth worked on at the dentist. You can get a year of good times for marriage. So you can find the best day during that year for your marriage. A year of good times to buy a house or to move into a house or to travel or anything you can imagine, basically. And that report's available at vaultoftheheavens.com. www.vaultoftheheavens.com. I know it's messy, but hopefully you can read it. And this report considers all 124 of these factors and finds the good times within a day for a whole year-long period of when is an auspicious, favorable time to start something. And by doing that, since that's the next step of the rest of your life, it puts you in a better position to enjoy better that 25% that's not astrologically dictated. You're basically saying, I want that 25% to be better than my fate that I'm born with, or at least as good. I don't want it to be worse by doing things at the wrong time. And this is one of the most early uses of astrology. And in fact, a lot of very primitive cultures use this, like looking at the position of the moon in deciding when to plant crops is an aspect of this part of astrology. And yes, with this we have times to plant things, times to start your garden, all that stuff. This is the most early use of astrology, perhaps. It's just finding the good time to begin something. And this is a more sort of progressive aspect of using astrology, is using astrology as a remedy to improve our fate, to make our lives better, rather than just using astrology to know our fate, but actually using astrology to create the best fate possible in light of our individual destiny. Thank you.